doesn't work on YouTube, it doesn't work on YouTube, whatever. Okay, so hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. We are live on YouTube right now, and we're also recording our podcast. And so my name is Robbie Page. I have two beautiful guests on today, and we're going to talk about disc profiles. Some of you may not know what those are because a lot of people understand Enneagrams. A lot of people understand the colors. A lot of people understand, Alicia, what's the other one? The Briggs-Meyer?
Briggs-Meyer, yep. Color code, Enneagram, all of those.
All of those. And so I want to introduce you to two beautiful ladies. And we're going to talk about DISC today. And we're going to talk about why, what, and how it works. So let me first introduce to you Katie, my sidekick. Where's my sidekick? Where's my sidekick?
I'm right here, coming
Hello.
coming in hot.
Coming in hot. Hello, hello. And Katie's
Hello,
on
ladies.
here. Katie's on here because she's got a huge testimony to what DISC has done in her family. And then Alicia Webb, say hello, Alicia.
Hello, everybody. So excited to be here.
Alicia and I are both certified in DISC profile. So we're going to bring a little bit of the brain, but really most of the heart. And so are y'all ready? Should we just talk about it?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Let's go for it. I think really what we want to talk about, let's start with this. Why DISC? Can we say that in layman terms? Katie, why don't you give us the why DISC before Alicia and I get the technical?
Yeah, I'll give you the easy way. The why DISC. If you want your household to succeed, if you want to be able to understand your children, if you want to be able to not hopefully have as many when I was young, I didn't that will happen in the future. If you want to be able to, see your husband or your spouse for who they are and what they are, and that they're actually not being mean to you, or they actually don't understand you because you need to understand them a little bit better. And man, I could go on. It's literally it's happening around me every day, all the time, even right now as we speak. It is that intense and that amazing all at the same time, for sure.
Yeah. And you can apply it anywhere, right? So Alicia, why would you say the why behind DISC?
I mean, personally, it has shifted every relationship for me, and I've seen it for others as well. So why in the workplace, it helps you to communicate very well, and maybe understand or have a different perspective of that employee. At home, same thing. It really just helps you to shift that perspective of, hey, this is just how my spouse communicates, or this is what my child is needing from me. And if you aren't the same personality type, could be very, very challenging to overcome that barrier, to really understand the why. So,
and so I'm gonna go off of personality type, because let's be honest, you guys, if you are married or dating, or your children are the opposite DISC profile of you, there's going to be a battle. If your spouse or dating or children are the same personality of you, there's going to be a battle. And so it really, truly, it's kind of like we all sit as girls and we think, oh, if I could just marry someone just like me. I always joke that if Brian was just like me, we'd be broke. We'd be traveling all the time. We would be partying all the time. We'd probably be alcoholics. Like, we wouldn't amount to nothing. Right. But I know that I need Brian's steady and his grounding and all those things. And so I want you guys to know that opposites attract. That's a true statement. However, let me say this one thing to you guys. We're teaching this right now in our community, and I have a package for all of you guys. I want you to hang in there with me. I have a $200 package for you that has a DISC assessment, a one-on-one consultation, a workbook, and it has a real life guide That's $125. So hang in there with me. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. But I want you guys to know, though, at the end of the day, ultimately, you want to seek to understand before you are understood. Because a lot of times people will come in here, girls, and they literally want to take this whole thing so the whole world can understand me. No, honey, you don't even understand yourself. All right, y'all agree?
1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't understand me, I'm going to let you call me bossy. Why I ain't bossy? I'm a D, right? It goes with the territory.
Changed my life. It changed my, even thinking about what I was called when I was young. I was the freedom of that is just like,
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, Katie, like that level of understanding about me. Yes, that's a whole thing in itself. But even going back and tying in what Robbie said about seeking to understand, when I changed my mindset and kind of flipped it of, yeah, this was about me, to, okay, I'm going to seek to understand other people so I can best communicate. That's whenever it was a game changer for me.
Yeah. Well, whether we like it or not, whether you're married, single, doesn't matter. If you have children, if you don't, all of us have to deal with people, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's at work, whether you're at Target, whether you're a mom, whether it's a school teacher, it doesn't matter. We all have to deal with people, you guys. Imagine if this world actually understood each other. Do y'all think it would be different?
oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I think there would be less judgment. Okay, so watch. I'm going to throw some judgments out there. You girls tell me who I'm judging. Ready? Are y'all ready? She's just so bossy.
D
style.
Oh my God. She's just always talking and she's always laughing and she's just always so full of joy. She's always worried about everybody else. And all she's ever worried about is if everybody's happy.
S.
They just have to know all the facts. Like it's not about the facts. And I say 12, she says 20.
C.
Right. And what we do is we take how we're wired and we expect everybody else to be us. And it really shouldn't happen that way, right?
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you guys say? Like, what was your aha moment? You know, like I remember getting my disc profile and crying because I thought God really doesn't make a mistake. Like he really wired me like this on purpose for a purpose. What would you guys say was your like lump in the throat moment for disc?
Mm-hmm. I'll go. Mine was, I thought I knew myself. I just kind of had this assumption because I knew color code and all this stuff. So I made an assumption about what I was. And actually, I was at the lake house, Robbie, with you. And I remember you saying, no, that's not what you are. And that for me, I was like, wait a second, I don't know myself enough. It was a convicting moment for me.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever I went through this whole process. And yes, it was about me and figuring myself out. I had to find out how I was wired, just like we talk about, we have to love ourselves before we can love other people. And that was kind of where I was coming from. And I did. I sobbed because it took me back to Katie's point earlier of growing up. People were like, oh my gosh, you're so logical. Like you're not very emotional. You're not touchy-feely. And you're just on to the next thing. You're so fast paced. And so it just the way that it aligned with me, it was literally who I am to my core. And so I didn't have to question anymore. Why am I so different? And rather than thinking about it in that light, it's, hey, this is a benefit because I actually do think this way. And I'm going to capitalize and emphasize on my strengths.
Oh, that's good. Okay. So what I just heard you say is when you understand how you're wired, you can actually add value.
1,000%, 1,000%, rather than seeing it as a negative. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of people judging you or accepting that judgment, you're like, no. Like I could help you actually be on time.
Mm-hmm.
I could help you understand some things.
Yes.
Wow. That's good. That's good. What about you, Katie? What was your aha moment?
For me, it was twofold. It was one, going back to the struggles that I had growing up with, you're so cold-hearted, and can't you ever just stay with something? And why are you so bossy? And you don't have any feelings. And then, so it was those, and it was like, because those play into a factor. I literally thought like, I'm this bold, loud, cold-hearted biatch, like I was like, but in my mind, and then I'm like, I know that I'm not that. Like, I actually have a passion for a lot of stuff. Like, this isn't true. And so it was a struggle, you guys. I mean, it took me down bad paths. And the other one is I literally flipped as I got my test done. I could see my kids. Like, it was instantly seeing my children. Like, at even this moment right now, I've got this daggone microphone. I don't have the cord for it. And I know exactly where it is. It's in my eyes room over there, because he likes to fiddle around with stuff. And so the D in me comes out, and I'm pissed off because I'm trying to find this cord. I can't use it. And I know where it is, right? But I know it's my eye child. So instead of me being like, why you always got to touch the stuff? Why do you always got to mess with things and and belittle him? That's really what it is.
Yep.
I know it. I just go in and get it, because it's not even worth dealing with, because he's not going to change.
Right.
It's just who he is. So that was my two aha moments, is it was literally changing my perspective of, it's not cold-hearted. It's being strong and confident in what I know and what I believe in.
Yeah.
Period.
Strong isn't wrong.
No.
And if I could teach D women that now, can we all talk about not all women are D's? Should we bring that up on this podcast? Because all women think they're D's. Girls,
Yeah.
let me just give you a little insight. Usually a D woman tries to figure out how we can be less D. Okay. Not how we can be more dominant. And so if you haven't taken your exam, do not self-diagnose. Number one, you go to the doctor for things. You go to counselors, you go to tax accountants, you go to CPAs, you go to brain surgeons. Don't self-diagnose. It's the worst thing that you can do. But women always think they're D's. And if you understand, so let's quickly cap a D. Okay, girls. Alicia, throw out a couple of adjectives for a D.
Bossy, dominant, decisive, very blunt.
Yep.
Just a few.
Just a few. Katie, I'm going to have you put the worldly adjectives of a D. Alicia and I are certified, so we're going to bring you the DISC adjectives. Katie, you bring the worldly adjectives of a D.
A bitch, controlling, always her way, rude. I mean, are those good?
Yeah. So that's a D.
Cold-hearted, obviously, that was one. Cold-hearted, has no heart. Bitch. Like, if you think of a bitch, then there's that, right? There's women that are actually bitches that think that we want to be D,
Right. Okay, so let's go to an I. Alicia, what are some adjectives that you would say are an I?
Oh, an I is very influential, very persuasive. They actually say that they make some of the best salespeople.
That's correct.
Life of the party, so much fun, all the sparkles, anything that's positive. The sun's always shining, glass half full. Yep. Very, very optimistic.
Patterns, feathers, diamonds, turquoise, like all the different things, right? They wear bling on their shoes. Katie, what are the worldly about an I?
Drama, for sure. Drama, out of control, a busybody, life of the party, loud.
Yep.
Always has to be seen. Always has to be heard. Doesn't shut up.
Mhm. What about the clock?
Oh, woo, this is me. No, this is not me. This is who I used to be. Late and doesn't give a sheesh about it.
Because with an I brain, the party starts when you get there. So
Exactly.
it doesn't matter.
And I
That's
got a party
right.
that I gotta finish over here to get me over there. And there's stuff that happens in between, and it just is what it is. And I
it
come in
sure-
with 15 bags because I just have to have all the things.
and it's
And
sure
you're
not
welcome
your
when
fault
you-
because you were late.
Yeah.
No. And if it is, we don't care.
And then you show up and you say, I'm here. You're
I'm
welcome.
here. The party can begin.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, Alicia, what about an S? How would you adjective an S?
Oh, very soft spoken. When an S talks, you're going to know it because they actually come down like this and they're very calming. S's, they love stable environments, consistency. If it's not broke, why fix it? Very much of a group team player. It's never about them, ever. If you have an S, let's say that's taking a picture, you'll notice that an S is usually the one taking the picture. They're
That's
usually
right.
not the one that's in it.
That is so true. And the eyes like, can I see that? Can I see that? Can I
Yeah.
see that?
How do
Oh, let's
I
do it
look?
again. Let's do it again. How do I look? Oh, I
Yes.
look fat there. We need to do it again. Yeah.
Yeah. And the D is like, okay, we did 1, 2, 3. Okay, whatever. That looks good.
Yeah. Just pick one.
Looks good. Just pick one. I don't care.
Okay, Katie, how would the world describe an S?
Slow. Can't make a decision to save their life.
Yeah.
Quiet. Weird. I mean, there's
Yep.
sometimes where they're weird. Like if
Uh-huh.
if you're in high I and you see something that's always, you're like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
Because she said slow, and I was like, to me, slow as me, my personality, I'm like, as they're not trying to be, this is funny, as they're not trying to be self-centered, or it's not about them. A person that's a D or an I could be like, oh, they try to make it about them. Their asses are so slow that it is all about them, because we got to wait 15 minutes for them to get in the car because we got to go, or
Because they were making sure everybody was ready
everybody
and
had
nobody
their
got left.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're calm, like they're sweet, they're kind. Like you look at kids differently, right? So you think of kids, you're like, oh, I want the S's in my class, because then I know they're going to sit there. They're not going to say anything. They're not going to question anything. They're going to do everything. They're not going to break a rule.
Right.
You
They're criers.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Cry babies.
Emotional.
Yeah. You could definitely say cry babies. Cry over everything. You're like, why are you crying?
Right. Why are you crying?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about C's, Alicia. What would you describe as a C?
Very logical, very analytical. So going back to the time, I's, the party starts when I get here. C's, it's totally different if you're not early or late in their
That's right.
book. Everything's about numbers. You'll often hear that they lack emotion sometimes.
Mhm.
And that's not necessarily the case. It's just they are very numbers driven. They are very systematic. They have researched anything and everything. They probably like own a library and have it in their house.
Mhm.
To where sometimes you'll hear people say they're almost so smart that they're not smart, or that they get in their own way.
Mhm.
But usually when a C does speak up, because they tend to be a little bit quiet, they do tend to move a little slower with decisions. It's purely because they have all this information, but they need to process it.
Yeah.
And their facial expression sometimes will look like they're mad, and it's not that. It's very much, I'm just thinking about it, and I'm not going to have an answer for you right now. I need time to process. And so
Yeah.
going back to pictures, if you need to get a picture with a C brain, they're going to ask what day, and it better not be today. They're going to need time to get ready, like send them a formal invitation, have the color scheme ready to go, because they need that time to process. They can
And
be seen as boring.
boring. That is correct.
That was the word I was going for.
A
Katie's
C
like,
asks-
Oh, I got all the C things, let me tell you. As a DI, the C's and I are like,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, Katie, how would a world describe C's?
Definitely boring,
Mhm.
plain. There can be jerks for sure. I think they could be rule followers. They're always waiting for somebody to make a mistake and surely call you out on it for sure.
Mhm.
And they can be rude. And they can be snakes.
Why snakes? Tell me more.
I think because they're always just, that goes back to like they're
Strike.
waiting for you to make a mistake. Like they're waiting for you to be like,
Ugh.
that's not it. Or like
Yeah.
they're watching you and they're just waiting to like get you.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so if you like, all these descriptions are correct. I hope that you guys hear that, whether it's the actual descriptions from Alicia or the worldly descriptions from Katie. The difference in Alicia and Katie, like, of course, Katie has a wealth of knowledge in this too, but I put her in that because the world does judge us, you guys. I know we like to say, don't judge a book by its cover, but listen, people spend thousands of dollars on what the cover of their book looks like in hopes that it sells amongst the other million books. So Katie's correct, and so is Alicia. How do we get our DISC profile and become the very best version of both of what they said? Because what Alicia said to you was how they're wired. What Katie said to you is classic, not understanding how someone's wired. And so when I even look at my own home, I am an ID. My husband is a DC. My oldest, who's 26, that's the I in me, see, 26. He is an IS. And then my youngest, who's 19, is a DC. And so if I did not try to understand this, what Katie said is how I would have defined all of it. But now that I understand it, I can look at the D's in my family and I can think, he's not trying to control me and he's not trying to be dominant. That's literally how he's wired.
Mhm.
Or I can look at Reagan and be like, oh my God, can you stop talking? But he's an I. Or why are you worried about who's happy today, Reagan? But he's an S. Riley and Brian, don't be so calculated. If I said 15 and it was 17, does it really matter? Well, to them, it does. And so you guys are so much personal growth in all of this. But again, I want to encourage you, do not self-diagnose. I mean, you could listen to this podcast or watch this YouTube over and over again. Do not self-diagnose, which is why we have that $200 package for $125, you guys. So I'm going to come back to you girls too, because I could tell stories of hundreds of stories from that I've heard because I've been a leader of hundreds of thousands of people. And so I had to figure out how to be the best DISC profile on the planet because I knew my job was speaking to the masses. Well, if I show up as a D, I'm going to leave out the I's, the S's, and the C's. If I show up as an I, well, the D's are going to walk out. The S's are going to literally be frazzled and the C's are going to literally cut you off. The S's, the D's are over it. Like I could go through all of that. So maybe share you guys some of the stories, just, obviously we can't give away details with people we've worked with, but like topical things that you've heard people really, it's changed their life. It's literally changed their life. And Alicia, I know you're a certified, so I'm going to start with you. And then I want to go to Katie with real life examples of fleshly things, if that makes sense. So Alicia, when you purchase the package, you'll actually get a one-on-one consultation with Alicia. And so she has literal book, by the book transformation stories. So Alicia, share a couple of those. And then Katie, I'm going to come to you with things we've seen in conferences and at retreats and at workshops that you and I have done. So Alicia, go first.
Yeah, thank you. There's one story that pops into my brain right away is I had a gal that said, I know that I'm an I and a C. So something that you'll learn from me, if we're going by textbook DISC, is while that, I don't want to say that it's not possible, it is extremely, extremely rare. Yeah. Because as you've heard us, I's and C's are polar opposite,
Mhm.
just like D's and S's are polar opposite. And so what we found was she did have a unique combination, which, by the way, we all are a blend of all four. Now, I say that because, Robbie, for you, for example, your C is a sliver, right? It's like 2% or something
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
And so when her results came back, what we found was that she was primarily an I and an S. And so for her, it really just painted a picture with why she likes to have so much fun, why she is so relationship oriented, because I's and S's, that means something to them. Now, where she was getting a little confused was with her C, because she's like, I like checklist. But as we went through her assessment, her results, we found that the checklist is what forces her to get things done. It helps her to have a sense of being organized. It's not that she loves it, but that she actually needs that. And that's even going beyond the disc, so to speak. So that really helped her. I've had other.
Her checklist tamed her eye.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
It tamed her.
That's good. I'll tell you so I have 2% C. I mean, we could talk about strength finders. That's a whole nother podcast, but I have strategy in my strengths, my top 10. And so it makes me look like a C. And then I'll say this to you guys, depending on your goals, you will sort yourself out real quick. I want to be a multi-millionaire. So I know as a high I, I've got to sort myself out. I either need a higher strategy, I need a higher organization, or I need to figure it out. And so my C brain can seem like it's higher, but it's because my goals are non-negotiable. Then there's that, right? So, all right, Katie, what about you? We've seen real life examples at our workshops and our retreats.
Yeah. And oh man, there's so many different ones.
Hold on, let me rephrase that. Alicia, not that yours aren't real life examples. I think what I mean is we've seen it literally right before our eyes, these light bulbs go off in women.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really funny where just kind of showing personalities where when we separate our rooms into 4 quadrants and you have your D's and your I's and your S's and your C's, you literally can watch it happen in your eyes. So the D's are literally, they'll stand there like this, like they're just like, yeah, are we done yet talking? The I's are always clustered all over the place. Like they're talking and they don't care what's going on. They actually didn't even remember where their spot was. They had to ask people to get over to their spot. The S's are all like, oh my, as Robbie stands in the middle, they're like looking around like, are we doing something wrong? Like, what should we be doing? And the C's are just standing there.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah. Shoulder to shoulder for sure. Standing there in a line. Like it looks like army base, right? Like they're standing like sergeants and they're just like, can you tell me what's going to happen next? That type of thing. So it's fun to watch that in a room. And it's also fun, like a real life story that I love, as again, going back to mom, just because to me as a mom, it just changed everything. And my husband is slowly getting into this. He still is on the line of like, well, they still got to be men and they got to follow, because at one point we had 2 of our boys shared a room. Well, we're still trying to figure out the one, because I think he has an I in him and he has C in him. So I always say he's a question mark with an exclamation point. That's how you can describe him. And so, but at that point they shared a bedroom together. So I have an IC-ish, we'll figure him out later. And then I have more of the CD going on this side. And so the rooms they had to share a room, and it was a disaster, and it was fighting every day, all the time. And it was, his room isn't clean and he get out of my way and don't do this. And then you got one crying because he doesn't care. It's terrible. The IC was over here crying, and you're just like, what is going on? Like every day it was a fight. Well, I had 2 polar opposite people sharing a bedroom together. It was disastrous. And so we pulled them out. And then I remember even at one of the Awakens, we had a picture of their rooms. Weston's bed didn't even have sheets on it. Right. Holton's bed had the sheets on, the bed back, everything was placed, his gear, all the things. Like I could take a picture. It was funny when I was going to get my boys lunch today. I noticed Colton, he's my SC down there, or my CD. His baseball gear already has his pants laid on it that are already been cleaned for his baseball practice. That is tomorrow.
Yep.
Weston stuff is shattered all throughout the garage, but it's funny because my husband gets so mad about that. He's like, you're always losing stuff and your stuff's everywhere. You need to be organized. You need to do this. And so they're always like fighting. And I'm like, you're not going to change that. Like, just stop. Like, let him go to practice without his cleats. If he doesn't have them, I guess he's wearing gym shoes, And that also happened one time where I had a bag because I picked Colton up from school. I got to one of his tryouts and he didn't have the right shoes. And you want to talk about drama for a C brain that doesn't have the right thing. Like, I literally drove 30 minutes home to get it because it was my fault. Because I'm like, his whole tryout's going to be messed up because he doesn't have it. Now, if it was my eye, too dang on bad. You're just gonna have to figure it out. But because it was my C and I knew it was my bad, I'm like, he's not going to have a good tryout if I don't have these shoes, because they would definitely play into his methodical mind. The other thing is, I think the biggest thing that helped our family was Weston always wanted to go to the grocery store, which is love language, right? So it's quality time. Anytime I would go anywhere, can I go with you? Can I go with you? Do the same thing with my husband. He always wanted to go. But then when we're there, it's a joke now because he has that eye in him. He just wants to buy something. So we're like, every time he goes, he's just purchasing something because he's got to have all the things, right? Like, he probably has his Christmas list for this year already, or his birthday presents or whatever. Like, they're already laid out. And so knowing those things they've just changed like, I could pull him out of his bedroom. We're not fighting anymore. It's not hurting his feelings that if we say, well, we don't say, no, you can't go to the grocery store with us anymore. We just let him go because we know what's going to happen. It's the love language, and it's because it fills his bucket.
Now, he could
so
be
we do a
gifts.
lot of that.
He could be gifts. That's a whole
nother
gifts
too.
That's a whole nother story. But I want to touch on something you just said is, with your kids, you're able to pull one out of the bedroom to stop the fighting. Well, in our marriages, we can't pull ourselves out of the bedroom. We can't separate ourselves from our children. And so it's so crucial that you don't self-diagnose, but it's also very crucial that you understand you, because when you're rooted in understanding of yourself, you also have room to understand everybody else. What happens is, as humans, we're trying so hard to be understood. Sister, you don't even know yourself first. Like, you got to know yourself first, because when you know yourself first, it's like the airlines. You got to put the oxygen on you first, and then you put the oxygen on everybody else. Oh, that's the disc. Literally understand you first, because you can't separate to stop the fighting. Even though I'm fully aware people do, right? Christian divorces are at an all-time rate. And I believe it's a lack of understanding, because I could just say, in my marriage, if I didn't understand disc, Brian and I would be a hot mess. Number one, because we're both 98% D. Alicia, you and I both know that doesn't work. However, we've had our marriage coach said, how have you guys stayed together? Your disc profiles, like 98% Ds don't make it. And I said, it's due to our understanding. It's due to our understanding, and listen, having grace for each other. Now, disc is not about you saying, see, I told you, this is how I'm wired. No, it's having a conversation with yourself and saying, see, this is how you're wired. But really, truly, when you understand you, then you look at your family and you think, okay, now I'm going to start to process everybody else. Start in your four walls first, then take it to work. Like, I would encourage you, go to Target and just pay attention, watch shows and pay attention. There's DISCs in every single movie out there. It's very, very interesting. And with the package that we have for you guys, one of those is the real life guide. And you're able to see in real life, a parrot is an I, an eagle is a D, right? A dove is an S, and a beaver is a C. Like, Gordon Ramsay is a D. A lot of you think he's rude, but he's not. So anyway, we could go on that forever. But
it goes back to what you said at the beginning, Robbie. Like, if we just understood disc, if the world understood disc, we would be so much different on so many levels. Even yesterday, this is so funny. This older lady was walking up our hill. We were coming back from the park, and she had on these black boots, and they were kind of had like some fur at the top, and then she had like these things, and her hair was just like this, and she had this black jacket on. You could just tell when she was walking, and she turned, and as soon as she turned, she had these bright red glasses on.
Oh yeah.
And her hair was perfect, and her makeup was done beautifully. Now, a normal person, typical people would be like, well, that lady is, what the hell is wrong with her? Like, why is she out there like flaunting her stuff, That lady looks weird, out of place. You know, look at me, any of the things that we could put, all those judgmental things. And I just started laughing. I said, oh my gosh, that woman is so cute. She is such an eye. And my boys now and my husband know it. And they're like, oh my gosh, Mom, that's so funny. And I was like, did you see her red glasses? So it takes like the judgment from your household and just makes it fun and peaceful. And I can't even say the transformation, just because I feel like we live in such a negative. There you go, Gucci, right there. And Alicia's like, I'm crawling under my desk because I would not be caught dead with those suckers on. Okay?
No, like the most plain, simple glasses that do the job. And that's another thing, talking about, well, two things I wanted to touch on that you both had mentioned, which I think is fantastic, is going back to how we respond to other people's personality types, as well as our own. And Robbie, I learned this from you for years. Our response is our responsibility.
Yes.
And so whether that's about us and understanding how we're wired, that's so, so important. But even more so, having the grace for other people and understanding how they are wired is huge. Like, there's just something about that accountability. And yes, we can make it about ourselves, and we do need to understand ourselves first. But on the flip side of that, again, I just keep going back to, that's where I see massive transformation. And about the glasses, there's my C brain, right? And like, okay, I touched on this, Sarah touched on that. The glasses, no, mine are black. They're in in my case in my car, because I only need them.
What about these, Alicia? Would you wear the tortoise shell ones?
No.
Or Alicia, wait.
They look great on you though.
What about these?
No, again, I think there's beauty in that though. I love that for you guys. I do. But for me, I'm like, just give me a pair that works. Like, and I'm talking about desk spaces. So if I look around, you know, at your guys' desk space, you probably have like the gold, the glitter, and all the fun colors and things. With mine, it's probably like very boring to you guys. I have my markers like color coded in my drawer.
And I'm like, where the hell is a marker?
Yeah, me too. Look, Alicia, what do you think about my little pink leopard with my tropical and my little bling frame?
How about this
And
right
I
here?
love
Here's the
that.
best one.
You just made my palms go sweaty, Katie.
So, but you know what's funny, you guys, is
I mean, seriously, now this is the D in me, this pisses me off, but the I in me is like, I don't care. It's fine. It'll be
whatever. I'll just order a new cord on Amazon.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Screw it.
Amazon's really good for the eyes, because we're like, I don't care. I'm just gonna get another one. And the D's, because we just get it tomorrow. But you know, I was thinking, if there's any lesson that sometimes I wish I could teach, it would be DISC in business. Maybe this is a part 2 podcast as well, but I think, man, you want to make millions selling, people know how to mirror. Understand DISC so that you know how to mirror, because a D will never sell an IS or C until you understand them. An I is not going to sell a DS or C. An S cannot deal with the DC, and a C will not deal with an I. So like, there's all this, you want to talk about $1 million sales force. This is one of the things you want to understand, but we could do that in another podcast perhaps. So, well, thank you, ladies. I think this is huge. I myself have been passionate about DISC for over 10 years, because I remember crying when I got my profile, and then I double cried when I got Brian's. And it made me very interesting. And so it's what I continue to put on everything is most of the problems that I had, this solved, because my problems were for a lack of understanding myself, number one, and how to polish my profile. And number two, a lack of understanding who I was around and insisting that I was just me and I could just be me wherever I go. Well, you guys, that's not always the case. And so we can talk about it another time. But any finishing thoughts, Alicia, that you would say before we wrap this thing up?
Oh my gosh. No, I think we've hit on so much, but just to mirror off of what you're saying, there's a million ways that you can take this. But start within your four walls, ladies. Start with yourself and your four walls, and just watch over time just how your relationships really start to develop and how they start to flourish. That's probably my number one thing. It changed my life in so many ways. We don't have time today to touch on all of them, but start there, start with you, and then start within your four walls.
That's so good. Katie, what about you?
To me, I would say my biggest recommendation is don't self-diagnose.
Right.
Yes.
Yet that, you guys, I have chills even saying this. The $125 will pay you back more than you can even fathom. Like I say this all the time. You need disc more than you need exercise. And that is a big thing for me to say. And you have got to get this done, period. Like there's no, should I, well, I'll wait. It has to be done because you are a living being with people that you live around, whether it's in work, life, wherever it is. And I totally agree. Start with yourself and then take it to your four walls and watch the transformation. It's going to be, I love hearing the stories. I literally could watch and listen to them for days because it's unbelievable.
And I'll tell you the flip side of the self-diagnosis, which is why we keep talking about that, is the confusion. Women think they're this, and it's confusing to them. And then that's because usually what you think you are is what you're not, to be quite honest. And so we're going to provide the link for you guys that you can click on and get that $125 package. It's normally $197, so $200, but for $125, you get the actual DISC assessment, which you want to answer within 3 seconds so you can be real to yourself. You also get a consultation with Alicia Webb here that you see or hear from, depending on how you're watching this, a 45-minute one-on-one consultation to really deeper understand you and how you can win in the world and how you can love yourself through how you're wired. And then you get a workbook for you to work through on yourself, your personal growth, your weaknesses, those things, and then a real life guide, which I believe if we understand, then as we walk out there and hear different things being said, or a cashier or a waitress, or like I could teach on diagnosing DISC at a restaurant. That's one of my funniest things that I love to teach in person. So, or at a stop sign, right, y'all? I go through all the scenarios, but at the end of the day, it's a very wealthy package for you for $125. And I'm fully aware it should be about $1,500 is what it should be. And so, but I have such a desire for every woman to understand how she's wired, because I want to say this. We could do another podcast on strengths and another podcast on love languages, but I want to say this to you. God doesn't make mistakes, and he wired you on purpose for a purpose. And so you owe it to him to figure out how he wired you. He's already wired you for perfection. He's already wired you for greatness. He's already wired you for how he needs you. That's his gift to you. Your gift to him is to figure it out and to shine in how he wired you, so that, like in my world, the problems began to go away. And so I still read my disc every year. I still read Brian's disc every year, Reagan's disc, and Riley's disc. I want to be sure that I'm not short on understanding. And so one of my favorite life wisdoms, and then we'll let you go, seek to understand before you seek to be understood. And disc will change all that for you. So thank you, Alicia.
Thank you. So fun. And we'll have to do a part 2, maybe.
Part 2, perhaps. I think we could do 10 parts on how to take it.
Yes.
Well, what we should do is everyone who does this DISC assessment with you, we should run some bonus Zooms. And so they can get
Oh,
on,
yes.
right? And they can ask more
Yes.
questions and stuff. So
Yes, great idea. I love that. I would be more than happy to.
yeah, we'll keep them in the system because we could spiral off a disc at work, disc in your children. Like
Yes.
so that you guys know, in my company, Everyday Life, we actually, Alicia is our disc coordinator. So she will be evolving so much for the woman to live in absolute harmony and joy and peace, not only within herself, but everybody around her. So Katie, what are your final thoughts that you would add?
Yeah, I'm all about a part two. I think that it would help, especially women in business and in your, or if you're in business for yourself, or, you know, you work at a workplace, it will alleviate a lot of things and bring you a lot more wealth, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, all the things. So it truly will change your life for sure.
Yeah. So click on the link, girls. Text me if you have any questions, 940-242-5443. Alicia, can you tell us how they can find you on social media?
Yes, you can find me on Facebook. My name there is Alicia Danielle. And on Instagram, it's Alicia, and that's spelled, because I know there's different ways to spell it, ALLICIA.2130.
All right. Katie, what about you?
I am Katie Miller on Facebook, and I am Katie Miller, well, Katie_Miller Wellness on Instagram.
Okay. So give us a shout out. I'm Robbie Page, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Clubhouse, all the things. I'm Robbie Page, ROBBIEPAGE. We want to welcome you guys into this circle of women, of setting our souls on fire and really finding that power that's within each and every one of us, and realizing that we really don't have to go outside to be elevated. But when we elevate ourselves from within, our life elevates itself. So with that, thanks, girls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.